Welcome in, everyone, to the Voice of College Football, Michigan, and a special edition of Wolverines Live here. We will take your comments and questions a little bit later on the incident involving Michigan and Michigan State players in the tunnel following Michigan's 29-7 victory over the Michigan State Spartans. Okay, we heard from the two head coaches today at their respective news conferences, and I'm going to outline what was stated there. What I previously had stated on Sunday night after I saw limited versions of the videos. I posted that video of my response to the incident at that point Sunday night on the main channel. So we are simulcasting right now on the main channel and also on the Michigan channel. And so my views are there for everyone to see. And some of you criticized those, and I don't know that you really understood that I left it open-ended to more information, more evidence, more investigation. But we will get to that in just a second. First and foremost, of importance right now is what was stated by the two head coaches this afternoon at their respective news conferences. And you could expect the approach, the verbiage out of each one to be what it was. Of course, one coach is going to try to deflect or minimize or make as few comments as possible, of course. That would be Mel Tucker. And then one coach would certainly show his vehement disgust at the situation. That would be Jim Harbaugh. That's obvious. That's to be expected. Okay, Mel Tucker, to summarize what he stated, and of course you can look this up yourself and watch the news conference, basically went through all the platitudes of this does not represent our football program, our players, our culture, and what we profess, what we deem valuable. This is not us. Okay, it's unacceptable. Said that a number of times. Of course it's not. Mel Tucker suspended 4 players. Now, of course, we'll never know, and we don't know in these situations the head coach's portion of that. First of all, how much weight they carry in that decision. Number 2, how many players they would discipline and to what degree. We don't know how much the athletic director plays into that decision of how many players and to what degree, and then the administration. We would tend to think that the administration would be the most disciplinary, that the athletic director would be next, and then the head coach, of course, protecting the interests of his players and the interest of winning football games, would be last. That's an assumption, but it's a logical one. Mel Tucker apologized to everyone on the planet, including everyone in the Michigan State side, which I completely agree with. It embarrasses those fine, reputable people out there that support Michigan State, whether they be current students, the athletics department, alumni, boosters, the administration, fans. Okay. And then, of course, he actually apologized more vehemently and more specifically to everyone representing Michigan State than necessarily the University of Michigan. And when he did, what he failed to do was apologize to the players victimized. Jamon Green, Jade McBurrows, those 2 players, they were the victims. I stated this on the video that was posted on Sunday night, that I fully expect and am using the platform that I have and that we have here at the Voice of College Football, to call out Mel Tucker, the Michigan State athletic director, and the administration to personally contact those players and apologize. Does that correct anything? No. Does that solve it? No. Is that enough? No. But it's a necessary step. Again, everyone in the world, everyone in the public spotlight apologizes when caught. This is a mark of celebrity in the United States forever, and probably throughout the world from the beginning of time, that people are sorry and people apologize when they're caught. At some point, and I'm not speaking to Mel Tucker in Michigan State in this situation because this would not be possible, but in other situations, I would just once love to hear somebody who did wrong, who wronged someone before they are caught, to apologize, to make the incident known and then apologize. Let's get back to this. That's a grander scale topic right there. I will get to the comments in the comment section. We will bring you on. If you would like to call the show, I will post the link. I just wanted to make some points concerning what Mel Tucker said this afternoon and also Jim Harbaugh. Okay. First question that Mel Tucker was asked was an excellent question. Same question running through my mind, same question that I posed in the video that I posted on Sunday night. What does this say about your culture? You speak about your culture. What does this say about your culture? Because let's understand that a head football coach has a difficult job in protecting 105 players and then also protecting the world and the campus and the outside from their 105 football players. These guys are big, tough, physical dudes, and they're 18 to 22-year-olds. We know what that means in a number of ways, whether that means physically, sexually, otherwise. We know what that means, 18 to 22-year-olds. And they are, in a sense, taught to go out on a playing surface and blast each other. It's a collision sport, to collide, to hit hard, to be physical, and to do it emotionally. So they're taught to be emotional within confines, and then to end that and drop it. That is not an excuse for what happened on Sunday night. That's just reality. That is just the truth. That's what a football player is asked to do, to be able to, between two whistles, to be as violent within rules, run as fast, and hit as hard as humanly possible, and then to stop and to refrain from that. And they're asked to do that constantly throughout a game. So they are by nature, most of them, I don't want to say violent people by any stretch. I don't think that would be a proper or an appropriate or a responsible character assessment out of myself. But they're aggressive individuals. And that's not a knock. That is not a criticism. That's, again, the truth. That's reality. And it is good in certain aspects to be aggressive in life. Okay, back to this incident and back to Mel Tucker's comments about culture. And he was pushed back on the first question, excellent question, by the media member to say, what does this say about your culture? You say all this about your culture, but what does this say? So let's understand, and I think most of us who are parents can relate to this as well or better than anyone, or anyone who owns a business, let's say. But I believe parents in particular, or to a lesser extent, coaches. We may not be the one who committed the crime, committed the assault, committed the transgression, whatever it is, but we're responsible. We're responsible for the actions of our children. We're responsible for the actions of our players, of our employees. we're responsible. It can't be completely controlled. It cannot be completely controlled. No one man and a coaching staff can control 105 players. I made some statements during the video that I posted on Sunday night that were misconstrued by some. I believe most of you took them properly and accurately, and I appreciate that because I mentioned forgiveness. People often misconstrue forgiveness. Forgiveness can be given and accountability. The two can be joined. I've often forgiven other people. I won't get specific in certain situations, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't hold them accountable. I held my children accountable for 23 and 25 years to date for their actions. That doesn't mean I didn't forgive them. I always forgave them. You can still hold accountable and then properly determine what harm was done and what is a proper punishment, penalty for that. That's tricky. That's difficult, but it has to be done by smart, logical, wise people. We unfortunately live in a society, and it's getting worse and worse here in the United States, where we have 18 to 22-year-olds going into retail outlets and terrorizing the place and victimizing people with brutality and force and bullying people and destroying merchandise and destroying property, and they just get let off. That's a society we live in. It's despicable and horrible. It boils my blood to the nth degree to see punks out there on the streets bullying people, hurting people, harming people, intimidating people, whether they're the elderly or people in retail outlets, and then again, stealing and destroying. Okay, I only say that to relate that to, we have 18 to 22-year-olds here. The 4 players that were suspended by Mel Tucker in Michigan State: Tank Brown, Kari Crump, Angelo Gross, and Zion Young. I did not look up the ages or the class ranks of these particular players yet. Busy day here at the Voice of College Football, outside of the Voice of College Football. So, folks, certainly I apologize and for anything about this situation that I'm not aware of. I posted the video on Sunday night. I read up as much as I possibly could find. I appreciate the 4 or 5 people that sent me other video angles that I had not seen at that point. So I made reference in the video to there being shots taken against the Michigan players. I only saw against one player. There may be video of just one player, but we know that it's against 2 players, Jamon Green again and Jadavian McBurrows. And based on the lower portion of the screen and where it was cut off, I initially could just see a sea of white Michigan State's uniforms surrounding a Michigan player. And the copy that is most prevalent, you can't even see the Michigan player for the longest time. You just know that they have him on the ground, on the floor of the tunnel, and they're doing whatever. You can't see punches or the like, kicks, stomping, whatever it is. And then he is finally allowed up, or he gets up, or he escapes, and we see him obviously staggered and just trying to get away from the situation and get away from those punks. I also made a statement last night during the video posted that the suspensions, so we've got 4 suspensions here by Michigan State. That's not sufficient. That is not sufficient. 4 suspensions, there may have been 4 players who physically harmed the Michigan player or players. But there were how many Michigan State players that let it go, that watched and were bystanders? Another excellent question. I posted this angle of it in the video. Check it out. I posted it. Understand that I had limited evidence information at the time, but still, check out the video posted on the main channel here at the Voice of College Football that I posted on Sunday night. But I brought up all the players that did nothing. Think about this. If you're a big, strong guy and you're out walking the streets and you see something done to a harmless, innocent person, hopefully you would step in, do something about it. Do something about it. At the very least, call 911 or step in and do something about it immediately. That's out in the streets where somebody can pull a knife, they can pull a gun, they could have 3 buddies right around the corner, whatever. It's still the right thing to do. If you don't have the courage, the guts, the bravery, and beyond that, the integrity to stop a teammate, what's the worst that's going to happen to you? He's going to push you away. That is the worst thing that is going to happen to you. Or maybe, and this is the problem in society, we all faced it in school, you're not going to be in. You're not going to be popular, possibly, if you got 20 teammates surrounding a Michigan player that have him down, and that's the cool thing to do right there. And you say, hey, no, we're not doing this. Get off of him. Let him go. That might be the problem. Because it doesn't take, from a physical standpoint, doesn't take much bravery or courage to do that. You're not out on the streets. You're in no harm. You're in no danger. So that was a pathetic, disgusting act by the ones who performed the physical violence and then the ones who watched. More so, of course, by the ones who were overtly assaulting. But let's not let the other ones off, the teammates. So there should be about 15 Michigan State players suspended, 15 or 20. Not 4. There should be about 15. Jim Harbaugh spoke to the media today as well. He called it egregious. He called it sickening. Absolutely. He called for accountability. Absolutely. He called for a thorough investigation. He had stated on Saturday night that he fully expected the Big Ten Conference and authorities to follow through with a full investigation. And of course, we've seen these situations before where every move that these players make while they have a uniform on, while they're at a team activity, meaning a game, a practice, a film session, traveling, and a number of other activities, they're sanctioned by the athletic department, the university, the conference. However, when you step out of bounds and you step beyond the rules and the sanctions and the guidelines of your particular school or conference, and you cross the boundaries of law, then that needs to go to the authorities, the police, legal and law enforcement authority. So that's where we are right now. That's hopefully where we are right now. And Jim Harbaugh called it traumatic, as well. Traumatic for the two individuals that were victimized and for the entire Michigan football team. Saw a state policeman. There may have been more. I saw one state policeman for sure who was there. And again, unless I'm missing something, please fill me in if I am missing something here. There was a state policeman there, at least one. And we're not talking about breaking up a fight in a back alley at 3 a.m. We're talking about you're at Michigan Stadium with all sorts of support, police, civil people, and there's a bunch of football players. Sure, they're big dudes, they're huge dudes. They could throw you in a trash can. Sure. However, it's your job, number one. And then, my goodness, you might get pushed down, you might get thrown down. They're not going to attack a policeman. What was going on there? All right, I'll take your calls, your questions, your comments. I'll look at the comment section and check out your comments here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate everybody being here. And before we do so, would like to let everyone know we've got a big night here at the Voice of College Football. So following our discussion with you here at Michigan Wolverines Live, we have a Nebraska live show tonight, typically on Tuesday. However, the College Football Playoff Selection Committee makes its rankings reveal this week. Therefore, we've moved our Nebraska show to 7 p.m. Check that. 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central over on the Nebraska channel. So please check it out. And then I'll be on the main channel tonight at 7 Eastern for our Top 25 That Actually Makes Sense. If you are not familiar with the Top 25 That Actually Makes Sense, you are in for a treat. Top 25 That Actually Makes Sense reaction show. Call me tonight at 7 Eastern time over on the main channel. And then our work is not done. 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, USC Trojans live as the Trojans prepare for Cal and continue their quest for a Pac-12 championship. All right, let's get back to this. I will certainly take questions concerning this in particular, but if you'd like to talk Michigan football in general, we are here for the duration. We're in the process of leaving the link in the live chat so you can join the show. I've just dropped the link in the chat, both on the main channel and here on the Michigan channel as well, right here at the Voice of College Football. We would ask that you would like the video, even if you don't agree with every word that came out of my mouth in regards to this situation, how it should be handled. Criminal charges. Swinging a helmet and other things. And also, please subscribe here. We've got a Michigan show on Wednesday nights, if you're not aware. Every Wednesday at 5 Eastern. Every Wednesday at 5 Eastern time. Michigan Wolverines Live. See, we've done it 61 consecutive times. 61 consecutive weeks. Michigan Wolverines Live. We would love to have you over on the Michigan channel. So if you're not aware, if you watch us on the main channel, but not the Michigan channel, we've got a Michigan channel where we talk Michigan football, of course, every day, including, of course, a Wednesday show. We've got Adrian on the line. Appreciate you being here, Adrian. How you doing?
Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm good. What's up?
I only have really one comment, and I've been thinking about this, and I apologize for the background noise. My girl just got home from school. But we, as a Michigan fan, we went to Michigan State last year, and we lost. We lost. We took it. For them to come back this year, get beat, and to do that, it's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. Both fan bases talk all the time.
Yeah.
But we have never done that. That crosses a line. And it makes you have even more respect for the Ohio State rivalry just because of that. That's my only comment.
Yeah, actually, Michigan did something a few years ago. I thought it was done last season because I could see it was at Michigan State Stadium. And somebody dropped the video this past week before the game, and I saw it on Twitter, and I did not realize this issue. You're probably aware, uh, the Michigan players were out warming up, and some Michigan State players didn't walk around them, and there was some kind of back and forth. And there is some video of a Michigan player just ripping up the Spartan logo at midfield.
At Devin Bush.
Oh, that was Devin Bush.
Yep.
I didn't even recognize him. I wasn't even thinking about what year it was. So this must have been, about 4 years ago, something in that range?
Yeah.
Something like that. Devin Bush. Yeah. Okay. And I even called that out to say that's despicable. That's a horrible thing. You're basically destroying property. The grounds crew keeps the field, and who are you to be tearing up the field? Which obviously that doesn't even compare a drop in the bucket, the ocean, compared to this.
Right.
But I even called that out to just say I would love for the grounds crew to be able to go out there. And I was, of course, joking. I said, grab a shovel and take him upside the head with it. But, this is so much worse than that. Absolutely. Everything you said is just spot on. And again, I believe in forgiving people. I believe in giving them a second chance. Sometimes that second chance has to go somewhere else, though. Sometimes you got to fire an employee and say, I wish you the best. I hope that you correct things. I hope that you can get your life in order, but you got to go do it somewhere else. And that might be the situation here with these Michigan State players, where it's just best, go somewhere else, apply in school, get yourself straightened out as an individual, as a person, before we start talking about football. Or maybe that's staying at Michigan State, being suspended for the rest of the year. Of course, they're going to be suspended for the remainder of this investigation, according to Mel Tucker. But I can't imagine that they would not be suspended for the rest of the season. And again, I don't know if you heard my comments. There have been 4 players suspended.
Yep.
There have to be like 15 players suspended because they allowed it to happen. They just stood there. So they should all be suspended too. Not to the degree of the players that took the physical action, but they should be suspended as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. And taking emotions out of it and looking at the bigger picture, you just hope that all the teams learn from it, and they can keep all that in between the lines, and not outside of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you, Mark.
Thank you, Adrian. Appreciate you being here.
See you.
And thank you so much for being here at the Voice of College Football. We always go live when we've got big news, and this is big news concerning Michigan State, of course. And again, all the evidence that came out on Saturday night. I posted a video on Sunday. Please check it out. Understand that I was still waiting more information and evidence, and have a different perspective on it right now. We will get to more callers here. We got Dustin on the line. Dustin, how you doing?
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Good. What's going on tonight?
I got a couple of things, I guess. There's a lot of people out there saying some stuff about how the tunnel and this and that. Well, the tunnel's been there almost 100 years, been there 95 years. We've never really seen anything like this to this extent. We've seen the players come out of the hall, get into their quarters in the hallway and kind of jar jacking back and forth at each other. We've seen the Ohio State games every year.
Yep.
Or every other year, and that's part of the game, and I get it, but this is a whole different thing as far as from what I've seen and the angles I've seen. For a player to take a blunt object, I don't care if it's part of his uniform or not, and start bashing another person, let alone a player or another child over the head or whatever part of body he hit him. And this is from what I'm hearing, is Green was walking back up the tunnel with McBurrows. I guess Green suffered an injury or something. I don't know why he was up there, why those two were even by themselves. That's also another point. The weekend before this, Penn State, there was some issues in the tunnel. there were some precautions taken before this game. There was some extra security hired, more cops to try to avoid something like this. I didn't think it would ever get to be this out of control. But from what I heard was McBurrows tried to jump in and, you know, protect his player, his friend, and that's when he got drug in. And then who knows what happened, because all I can see in that grain is a bunch of dudes that look like they're kicking, stomping, punching, pulling, grabbing, whatever. Like, that's all I can make out from that video. I mean, I'm sure there's other angles that aren't going to be released because of the ongoing investigation, like Tucker kept saying. As far as punishment, like I'm with you. I agree. You know, I'm all for forgiveness and things like that. Second chances, third chances, whatever. For this season, the players involved need to be suspended without question. And then for you to sit there and watch that, I don't know. I don't know if it's just me. Anytime I've seen that happen, and I've been in an area and it's my friends, even if it's not my friends, I usually try to get in and try and stop something from like this happening. So if you're gonna stand there and watch your friends do that and think it's funny,
Yeah.
and then the guy he has the opportunity to pull his phone out and videotape what's going on. Uh, it's that's it really it's really really sad that this is even an issue that we're talking about this, because it was a really good game. I had made some comments during the game and after the game at how, other than like that first drive for Michigan State up until the end of the game, how clean it was. There were really no personal fouls, like no egregious ones. It was a pretty clean game during the game. And then we have this.
Exactly. And the point that you just made is a point that I made. And again, I don't know how much of the show that you saw that, think about this, whether it was the state policeman and I saw one just standing there, not doing anything about it. There might have been other ones outside of the camera angle, but we know that one state police did nothing about it. And then again, the teammates did nothing about it. We're not talking about a situation like you just outlined where, let's say your buddy's in trouble or your buddy decided to attack somebody else. Anyway, there's an incident on the street. And if you intervene, that's a brave thing to do. That's a courageous thing to do, because you don't know who's got a knife, who's got a gun, who's coming around the corner, what you're getting into. Within the confines of this, it takes some integrity and bravery, but nothing compared to being out on the street. You're in a controlled environment. If you're a Michigan State player and you're going to try to restrain a teammate, not much is going to happen. You might get pushed or, thrown down or something. That's about the worst that's possibly going to happen to you. So for those Michigan State players to stand by and do nothing about it, I think is a horrible, horrible thing.
Yeah, I agree. Like some of the other points out there that I've heard a lot of too are this was just waiting to happen, with the tunnel the way it's built, and this is the only way to get in and or off the field, and we've never had nothing like this happen in 95 years, and this is Michigan State. This isn't Michigan Ohio State. That we've seen 10 years ago where like Ohio State player walking back into the tunnel and a Michigan player coming out the tunnel, and he might throw him, throw his shoulder into him. We've seen that happen, and I don't agree with that at all either.
Yeah.
Or fans grabbing at players as they're going through the tunnels. Like first game I ever went to, I got to go. I was standing at the tunnel, and I happened to have the Michigan team came out, and I started slapping one of the Michigan players on the helmet, and it happened to be John Navarre, and he just turned around and looked up at me, and I kind of was like, that was probably stupid what I just did there. And I heard some other things too, that Mel Tucker, I haven't seen any video, I don't know anything about it. All I've heard is what I've heard is that maybe a fan or somebody grabbed at him or did
Yep.
something, and maybe he
Yeah.
swung. I don't know. I don't
He
know
was
what the
asked
story
about
is
that
there.
today, but he wouldn't comment.
Yeah, I watched that entire 30 minutes of him. I watched your show last night, and I've watched a couple others, trying to find other videos and this that. But it looks like a lot of them are getting pulled down pretty quick because of the soon-to-be investigation. But as far as punishments goes, yeah, I'm on you with, you gotta suspend the players that did it. You gotta set an example. You gotta suspend some of the players, most of the players that just didn't do anything. And then as far as that cop, I saw that cop, like, I don't know what he could have done other than, I mean, yeah, what, jump in there, and then then you're looking at assaulting a police officer, because he definitely probably would have got pushed around. But I really, from my standpoint, I don't know what he could have done to stop any of it. I don't. He was a little sheriff. I don't.
I understand that's a difficult situation for him to be placed in, and that's a difficult job. But that
Yeah,
is his job. That's
yeah.
why he's there.
I know. I mean, that's totally why. Like, we hired extra police, hire security, or more security for this game for this reason. So yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I don't know what I would have done in that situation. It's just hard to see. I just hate that we're even talking about it. But let's let's try to move on. Obviously, some things are going to come down. Michigan State's going to get pretty punished, pretty hard, severely, and that's unfortunate for the game. But we're gonna have to do what we got to do to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again. Because Michigan is not going to go out and dig another tunnel, because not a lot of people know that that stadium is the field is actually below ground level. So if we needed, we'd have to dig a whole nother
Yeah,
tunnel.
it is truly a tunnel. Yes.
Yeah. So that's not going to happen. And yes, we can make, like Joe Klatt was saying, okay, let's make sure we get the whole team, everybody, the coach, everybody out and through the tunnel and into their locker room before the other team goes through. But then, like this situation, we've got two players, one injured, going back early, starts getting bashed with it. I mean, you just gotta stop your players from getting involved in stuff like this. I don't know. Well, I don't have the perfect answer.
No one does. Nobody has the perfect answer, Dustin. But thank you for the call. We appreciate it.
Yep.
We will keep it moving here at the Voice of College Football. We got Biggs Mike's on the line. How's it going?
Doing well, Mark. How are you?
I am doing just fine. Appreciate you calling. What's
I
up?
appreciate all the content, man. As always, big fan.
Thank you.
I was just piggybacking on everything I read online is like all the MSU players or fans are talking about the tunnel, or that's the problem. I don't think it's the tunnel. Like, as we know, you being an Ohio State fan and me being a Michigan fan, that rivalry is heated all the time, and they tend to get on scuffs on the field. Like last year, there was a scuff on the field, in the end zone when Michigan and Ohio State players were jawing back and forth, but it's on the field. It's never in the tunnel. Like, I don't understand how the MSU fans are saying it's the tunnel's fault or number one's fault for skipping by them, and that was justification for what they did. Like, I was just listening to a local Michigan State radio, and they're actually blaming Harbaugh for it, for not, for number one skipping by those Michigan State players, saying that that's what they did. That's what happens when you come in there, supposedly talking crap to Michigan State players. That's the consequences. It's just outstanding. It's just crazy to hear such things.
Yeah, we tend to do that in society with all the crazy things that are going out on our streets, and then you see the social media posts and you see the video, and then you have some faction of people that like make every excuse in the world and come up with some little minute thing that could have possibly avoided it or made it different, instead of holding people accountable for their actions. That's what it's down to.
And it's like when Michigan lost last year, Michigan State has a one tunnel exit too. I didn't see any issues when Michigan exited last year, and there's plenty of pictures of on Saturday night when like a couple of Michigan and Michigan State players are walking and talking to each other. You can be cordial with your rival. You don't have to, I understand it's a heated game for 60 minutes. You get into it, you're hitting shoulder pads, all night, but that's between between the lines, not in
Yeah.
the tunnel.
Well,
So-
there is emotions are called emotions because they're not logical. So we do have to do things to suppress our emotions or circumvent them in such a way. And there's a reason, for example, that there's a 10 or 15-minute cooling off period before the media is allowed into the locker room to talk to players, like at an NFL game, because you allow them to go there, release their emotions, throw helmets, yell, shout, cry, do whatever you want to do, and then they have to compose themselves and be professionals. And so there should be structure to the way things are done, because again,
Yes.
we are asking them to do something that in a sense would be inhumane in normal life, to go out and run as fast as they can at each other,
Yeah.
hit each other as hard as they can, and to do that for 3 hours, and then when the whistle blows, to just be able to be complete class individuals. And we ask them to do this at the age of 18 to 22. So there are smart decisions that can be made about procedures, but still, to the point that I tried to make during the video that I posted, we are taking boys and we are training them to be young men. That's part of college and part of being a football player. So part of that is being able to categorize and be able to act with some poise in a situation.
Do you think at all that this is like a reflection of like the like, I know Tucker won't talk about the culture, but like kind of what he is building at Michigan State, that type of like intensity or aggression, like
I hate to make a judgment call
Yeah.
on that because it's an assumption, and I just hate to go there. I will say that while I listen to him speak today and in the past, but mostly today because of what happened,
he never once said apologize or just say, hey, for what happened to the Michigan player. Like,
no,
like you
not at
don't,
all.
I mean, I don't really expect him to call Jim Harbaugh. I don't see it happening. He should, but I mean,
He
at least call
should.
the player, at least call the player, the two players that got, assaulted. What you should do. He keeps saying it's an ongoing investigation, which I understand, but that was his answer to everything today.
Yeah.
Like
There's
he
a
didn't
difference between it being somebody's fault and it being their responsibility.
yeah.
If you're a parent, you're responsible for your children. That doesn't mean it's your fault if they go out and sock somebody in the eye, but it's your responsibility. And it's his responsibility. And yes, he almost went overboard apologizing to his side, Michigan State alumni, fans, boosters, students, the administration. We apologize to them. Okay, well that's fine. They're embarrassed, but the apology should go first and foremost to those two players, and it should be a personal, heartfelt, direct apology.
Well, because like I even heard Harbaugh on his interview. He even said that he takes responsibility for, because when a kid comes to school, he's the parents are trusting in him to watch their child, right? So he feels somewhat fault for this too, for even happening, because his parents put the trust in Harbaugh and this thing happened, right? He's even coming up with like, it's like Tucker used this ongoing investigation for like a culture question. That's not something to do with it. Yeah, you don't have to comment on the actual incident, but you can comment on the overall structure or culture of your team. And it seems like he was trying to avoid that question the whole time. Like, but it's a difficult situation to say the least.
Yeah.
And hopefully it gets I'm sure everything will come out in the end. And supposedly there's other video too. I guess Michigan does have security cameras in that tunnel that are being used as well for the investigation that we probably won't see. But
anytime there's a violent act against somebody or some type of theft or anything that's done in harm against somebody else, I think we all just logical, reasonable, good-hearted people just want justice. We just want justice. Whatever the truth is, we want that to be found out and then that acted upon in a just way.
And I know your comment, your video today about, when Devin Bush did the stepping on the logo, that whole scene. But like, it's like Michigan State, from what I heard, purposely came out there early and did their tradition of locking arms and walking across the field when they knew Michigan players were practicing or warming up, that they purposely did it. and you start that reaction when you do that.
Yes,
I'm not saying what Devin Bush did was right, but you threw that pebble in there, and then it started that ripple effect.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
totally agree with that. That was a video that I saw on Twitter. I'm really locked in. See, so this is one of the issues with what I do is like on Saturday, all this stuff was going on. I didn't know anything about it because
Yeah.
I'm watching football.
Yeah.
I'm not like on social media looking around for stuff. So people are finding stuff on social media and finding this out. I went right by me because I'm watching football till the hilt, and then on here. So you're right. I saw that video placed on Twitter, and I didn't know about that at the time, the Devin Bush incident. And so I saw from a Michigan State perspective, look at what, and I didn't even realize it was Devin Bush. I just saw it as a Michigan player. And
It was like it was on Fox. I remember when it first happened, and like Fox just showed that happening. They didn't give no
Okay.
context. So,
And so exactly, somebody
Yeah.
came back and replied to my tweet to say, hey, this happened before. And
may
I
have been
said,
me.
well, that doesn't exactly your perspective right there. That doesn't make what Devin Bush
No.
did right, but it puts it in perspective that he was retaliating rather than initiating
But
that.
when the game was on, after all that happened, they played the game. You didn't see Devin Bush do anything dirty. He played
Sure.
solid. He played a good game.
Ripping
Michigan
up
won.
grass and beating a guy upside the head with a helmet,
Yes.
those are two different things. Yes,
Exactly.
I do not put those in the same category. Although, like and again, I was being for those people that are a little hypersensitive about such comments. I was joking to a certain extent when I said, those groundskeepers, they work hard on that field. I made some kind of comment that they should be allowed to go out there and slam Devin Bush upside the head with a shovel.
I typically read between your lines when you're speaking. I know you're not always
I would hope
serious.
so.
Yeah. So no, it's good. I think I'm the one who commented on that when you posted that. I was like, no, there was a reason. They did that tradition early to cause a problem. But yeah, it's just frustrating. Everything online, MSU people saying, like even the local, like people who work for the magazine at MSU are saying it's Harbaugh's fault and Michigan players' fault and that Michigan's soft. And this is what happens when you come in there, jaw in your mouth. So like Michigan acting like they're innocent. He probably came by skipping jaw in his mouth after the victory. And this is what happens when you do that. Like he deserved it. I know it's just disgusting to say the least.
This is what I don't understand about fans. And I don't think I've ever been like this, but I'm sure I was to some degree when I was younger, that we take so much pride in our team and our players and coaches that we feel like, first of all, when they do something good, when they win championships, like we think that reflects on us. Like we did something special.
Mm-hmm.
Like we did something. So look at me. I'm great. I'm an Alabama fan. We've got 16 national championships or whatever like that. Like I did anything to contribute to that. But on the flip side, if one of our players, coaches does something that's horrible, well, how does that reflect on me? I just happen to root for a certain team from a certain institution. I have no responsibility over Urban Meyer's actions. So I'm not going to try to defend him if he's obviously wrong. And I'm just using him as an example. I'm going to call it as it is, regardless of whether he coaches at Ohio State or TCU or Washington or wherever, and not take it as some personal affront that I have to defend him. Because of the colors that he wears. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and like you're saying, yeah, we get emotional to it. Like the fact that we say we, right? When I was watching the game on Saturday with my wife, I was like, we won. I didn't win anything. I didn't play. But you know how it is, right? You say we.
Absolutely.
But yeah, because you're, I mean, I live in Texas and I'm a huge Michigan fan. So I always have to explain why I'm a Michigan fan, right?
Well, I will say that I have no issue with any fan that says we. Okay. We won, we lost. I do the same thing. My defense there is that if we did not support these teams, if we didn't buy the merchandise, go to the games, watch on TV, and create all these billions of dollars, this wouldn't exist. So if the fans didn't exist, then Michigan football, Big Ten football, college football does not exist. And so I believe that any college football fan, any sports fan has every right to say we won, we lost.
Exactly.
I don't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, I just find it funny because I've said we since I was a kid, and it's just, it's always entertaining. But no, yeah, I just think there's it's hopefully it all works out. I'm sure it will. The investigation will happen. It'll move on, and then hopefully, like you're saying, there can be other things done next year. Or next time Michigan State comes to Michigan, like just have more security on those bigger games. Like when they're like when Hawaii and Michigan, when the rain delay happened, they were all in the tunnel watching football together, but they don't hate each other. It's Hawaii. They're coming to Ann Arbor. They're getting paid to come there. There's no hatred. So hopefully in the bigger games when Ohio State comes and Michigan State and Penn State, they can get more security in there, or just keep the players, let them walk in by themselves. Then Michigan walks in, or vice versa. Let the away team go to the locker room first, and then Michigan goes to the locker room. And then, it sucks that it has to be that way, but clearly the last 4 weeks with Penn State throwing peanut butter and jelly sandwiches at Michigan for some reason. So, it's just been it's been an interesting few weeks in the tunnel that's been around for 95 years. And now the last 3 weeks have been a problem.
Well, thanks for the call. We
No problem. I
it.
appreciate all you do, man. Big fan. And I'll talk to you later. You have a good one.
Appreciate that.
Bye, buddy.
All right, let's keep it rolling here at the Voice of College Football again, discussing the Michigan State tunnel assault incident and anything related to Michigan football. Little special edition, Wolverines Live. We come your way every Wednesday at 5 Eastern, folks. So all of you that join us today, come on back Wednesday at 5 o'clock Eastern. Will, what's going on tonight?
Hey, Mark. Mark, this cannot happen in college football. Like, I understand that there's rivalries and everything, and there's dislikes between teams, but it can't let it get to this violence. It can't happen.
Yeah, if we allow it to happen, then we are turning these people loose in real life. And we know what all you have to do is turn on the news and you see similar situations going out on the streets, which is much more dangerous because there's no restraint or there's no one there to break it up and end it. So these people have to be, these Michigan State football players have to be taught a serious lesson for their own good.
Yeah.
Let alone everybody else too.
I really think that I understand why it's tradition that the tunnel is small at Michigan, but I do think they got to do something to make sure this doesn't happen. And I don't know, like, I also heard that like putting security guards in the tunnel to try to fix that, but I don't know. I just think that I know it'll take out a couple seats, but I do think that they got to expand it upwards. And I know like Michigan Stadium likes being the biggest stadium, but I don't think it would take that many seats to get rid of just to make the tunnel a bit bigger. Do you think so?
So we're talking about making it higher so fans can't reach down, because that's an issue as well. These fans reach down and hit the players and the coaches. Apparently, you're talking about expanding the width of it.
And the height.
Well, I'm not understanding why, and I get it. If there's 80 players on one team and 80 on the other, we're talking about a lot of humans going in whatever direction they want to after the whistle blows. But there can be some kind of separation, and there supposedly is, but it's obviously not effective enough to allow one team to walk through and then the other team to walk through.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Notre Dame built their stadiums similar to Michigan's, and they of course, in the 80s with Notre Dame and Michigan got in fights, Notre Dame, Miami got in fights, and they made the tunnel bigger. So, yeah, I agree with Mike on that. But with these rivalries, I understand like people don't like the players, but the hatred of the players on the other team should stop as soon as the game ends. With sportsmanship, I just feel
we're
like
all people. We're all people. And that person that you hate wearing that other uniform could be playing for your team. It's more probable than it's ever been that they could be playing for your team next season, or they could be playing for your NFL team if you like the NFL in 3 years.
Yeah, because my dad did not like Miami, but as soon as they joined the then Redskins, now Commanders, he's like, okay, well, they're my convict now. Like now I like them because they're on my team. So
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they don't, even if they never play for your team and they're forever a Michigan State player or Michigan player that you hate, and when I say hate, I put that in sports terms, not true hatred, then just leave it at that. Understand that we're playing a game, and the two of us are as big a college football fans as there are, and we enjoy it. We love it. We hate to see our team lose, all of that, but it's not life. It's not life. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I want all these guys to graduate, get degrees, do well after they play college football.
All of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like I hate losing, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't hate the players that beat me. Like, I hope that they do. Even if they do say mean things to me, I'm like, all right, well, that's your prerogative.
Yeah. The only reason those players ended up at that school playing for that team is they may have grown up in a different part of the country or the different part of the state or had a different relationship, been scouted differently, recruited not by your school, maybe recruited by that school or other schools. There are all sorts of different factors that led them to a decision to go, and based on their aspirations in life, to make a purely football decision or make a 90% academic decision that had a little bit to do with football or whatever the decision and the components involved, they just happen to make another decision.
Mm-hmm. And I'll give this to Sparty. I think that obviously they're getting buried, rightfully so. But I feel like Mel Tucker wants to compete with Michigan. He wants to compete with Ohio State. And obviously he's surrounded by Michigan, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. And it's hard to recruit in that area. So I feel like maybe he gets the guys that are tries to get the guys that are skillful, but might not have the best character or culture.
That
So
is
I
a
know he's
great
not.
point in all this. That is a great point in all this, because every coach has to come to some decision on every athlete. And that athlete slash person might be a complete slam dunk. Great grades, character, great football player. Okay, those are easy decisions. Then there are others where it's like, this guy's a great character guy. His grades are fabulous. He's not the best athlete. He's a 0.2 of a 40 times slower than we would like to have an outside linebacker. And do we think we can develop him, hide him a little bit, and make that choice? Or the grades are highly questionable. He's had some incidents in school. Amazing athlete, freak. Do we, there are decisions to be made. Not everybody fills all those check boxes to fill up a 105-man roster. It doesn't happen. That's not possible.
Yeah, and you just see this with Michigan State and Texas A&M. Like, it's not worth it. Like, even though these teams, Michigan State, look at their recruiting now is great, but are these guys actually going to turn out to be great players, or is it just going to be, oh yeah, we would be gone, Michigan man, Jason? Yeah. If I understand they're recruiting better now than they ever have been, but is it actually going to translate to on-field success? Because it's not a Texas A&M, and who knows? Like, Mel Tucker could turn it around. These guys could become changed men with him, and they could win. But I just think that he should use the more Mark D'Antonio script than the John L. Smith, because you could see with John L. on the sidelines, those guys were like, I'm not trying to,
Nice
but they're
reference.
like making
John
gang
L.
signs
Smith.
and stuff. It's just not it wasn't a good look at Michigan State, and they did not win, and they collapsed.
How old are you, Will? You don't have to answer that question if you don't want to.
I'm 21, but
okay,
that's
what I figured. Well done on the John L. Smith reference. You went back to like 2003, 4, 5 in that range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I did see this guy, popular Michigan State radio guy, Mike Valenti's rant on the 2006 Notre Dame Michigan State game. So that's how I learned more. And then I looked into him, and I'm like, I could see great start, brutal loss to Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State, collapse pretty much every year.
You also reminded me of the take that I had when Mel Tucker got the job that I had about Michigan State prior to that. And when he first got the job, that this is one of the toughest jobs in America because of Notre Dame, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan from a recruiting standpoint. And obviously 3 of those 4 from a direct competition to win a division, because even if Ohio State's down 1 year, well, still Michigan, Penn State. If Michigan's down 1 year, it's just, and you know what? I've kind of shut up on that narrative because Mel Tucker stepped in and went 11-2. And I thought, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But I do think that that was a bit of an aberration, and it still is a very difficult place to win at a high level. It's an easy place to go 7-5.
Oh yeah,
but it's
if you don't
really
go 7-5 in Michigan State, I don't think you're a good Power 5 head coach.
No.
But yeah, them and Auburn, those are tough jobs.
Yes.
All right. Well, I just wanted to give my take on I try to be as non-biased as I could on the situation with Michigan State and Michigan because I don't really like both schools. But I mean, I respect the athletes on these schools. I'm just not going to root for them. But.
And folks, if you're not aware, Will and Jordan Bowman delivered our Notre Dame show last night. So check it out on the main channel, the Clemson channel, or the Notre Dame channel, posted last night. And Will also has a YouTube channel, which again is called Will and D, correct?
I'm going to go post the link in the chat. And then, yeah, so definitely interested to hear the other takes. Of course, I saw George is coming up
right next.
Yeah, so really excited to see that. So excited for the college football rankings tomorrow. I'll definitely call in after that and see. I doubt Notre Dame's going to be ranked, but it's interesting to see where the other teams will be ranked.
Join us, everyone. We're doing a watch party at 7 o'clock Eastern time to watch the reveal together. Okay, right. Will.
I'll see you later, Mark.
Thanks, man. Let's get right to it. George is on the line. Where is he, George? Is he out?
Hey, yeah.
Is he in the bathroom? Please don't tell us if you are. George, how you doing?
I was eating bacon.
I eat a lot of bacon.
Good shit. Anyway, Michigan State, what's that all about?
The players were leaving the tunnel in the game on Saturday night, and about 4 or 5 Michigan State players got a hold of a couple Michigan players and roughed them up pretty bad.
So what's the
Pardon me?
So what's the problem?
So what's the problem?
I don't get it. Oh, you don't? What rule is that? Is there a rule?
I believe so. I don't think I can walk up to you on the street and knock you upside the head.
No, this is football.
Well, it's outside.
So they both have to sit out the first quarter. Let's make them sit out the first quarter of the next game. Call it even.
All right. So, George, I'm going to say that you're in the minority on this one. That's fine. That's sometimes a good place to be. So explain your take on this one.
I want to see the evidence. I want to see the medical reports. Who was hurt and how bad? I mean, this is all just innuendo and rumors. Who got hurt? How bad?
Well, they're not rumors. We've got video.
You have doctor. I want to know what the doctor said. I pretend we're on Judge Judy. Show me the medical reports. Give me a break. Nobody got hurt, man. It's just fun and games, kids playing around.
So you're all about the result and not the intent.
I just feel like there's something wrong with this story. Are you crying because
George, if I take a swing at your jaw, but I don't connect, you won't take any offense to that.
This is college football. It's sports entertainment. Give me a break. You need to be worried You need to
missing
worry
something,
about the
George.
diesel fuel running out. Don't worry about
Well,
this.
yeah,
It'll
there
be
are more
fine.
important things in life. There's no question about that. But we actually talk about college football in here, so this is an important part of what we
I
do.
agree, but still, I haven't seen no medical report or X-rays. It's all just a bunch of talk. Nobody got hurt, man.
Well, absolutely, there are more important things going on out there. Yes, there are people getting beaten up on the streets every day that is far worse than this. Absolutely, but
Exactly.
I don't cover that.
Right.
And as I stated before, you may not have been on the stream yet. I talked about all the 18 to 22-year-olds out there that are left to vandalize buildings and run into retail stores and beat up clerks and steal everything and damage property and take baseball bats to whatever they want. Yeah, there are all sorts of stuff going on that's far worse than this. Sure.
Right. And this is just Michigan making up a fake story. Michigan paid that player to run in that tunnel full of those Michigan State players and go nanny, nanny, boo, boo. And they smacked them a couple times. I think that's a good deal. I think that's fair. Don't send your player into the tunnel with us. You know, that was dumb.
Stated in the chat, George. So anything that you can do to eliminate, we're hearing reverb, like we can hear me.
Did that fix it?
Apparently so.
Darn it.
Hopefully.
Fix. Yes.
There, we got a contribution from Eric. Erica, thank you so much for that. Erica, thank you so much for that. Please mute your YouTube, George. This is Echo City. Yes, it is. And I should have noted that sooner. So that's my fault, everyone. That is my responsibility because I could hear it. So that's my fault. But thank you for the super chat. All right, George, anything else on this? Or anything
yes,
else?
a lot of things I say are meant to be funny or sarcastic, but in all honesty, come on, man, give the kids a break.
So what would you do? What would be your response to two players on one team exiting in a tunnel and a bunch of other players kicking them, hitting them, swinging helmets, hitting them? What would be your penalty, if anything?
I would enforce the rule that players run down the tunnel at different times.
Okay.
And if you go down there at the wrong time, good luck. You know?
can enforce that rule at another time.
Yeah, don't run down the tunnel with the other team. Wait till your team goes down the tunnel.
Would you do anything about this particular incident?
I don't know enough. I haven't seen the medical reports. I don't know. If there was an actual stabbing or something, get back to me.
So you are only in the camp of punishing or penalizing people if there's some type of physical, like serious physical damage. Otherwise,
permanent injury, permanent disfigurement, something. Otherwise, let it go. Just get back to practice. And don't run down the tunnel with the other team. Jesus, you might get hurt. That's just wrong, especially after you beat them by 35 points. You know,
if we see someone on the street with a weapon and they shoot all over the place but don't hit anyone, we're not going to reprimand that person.
That's different. You might have hit me.
Well, they
don't even get me started. Don't get me started, or I'm going to want to vote on it and see what people think.
They did hit those two Michigan players.
All right. Suspend Michigan football for the rest of the year for being dumbasses and running down the tunnel at the wrong time. I would give Michigan the death penalty because they're all a bunch of pussies. They can't even run down the tunnel without getting hurt. They're ashamed of college football. Shame on them. We got better shit to worry about right now. This is ridiculous.
All right, George, once again, let me be clear, at least from my perspective. Yes, we have a lot more serious things to worry about, but we are not dealing with those things in life right now. We're dealing with college football, and in college football, this is completely unacceptable.
I don't know. I'm saying go Michigan State. Thank you for guarding your tunnel and keeping it sacred. And no Michigan players need to be in the middle of us yelling, haha, we beat you by 35. You know, you can't do that. That's not right. That's abuse of Michigan. But whatever. Or is it abuse of Michigan State? Yeah, it's abuse of Michigan State. Michigan should be penalized. You can't do that. You can't run down the tunnel yelling, haha, we beat you by 35 in the middle of their team. That's uncalled for. He should have to sit out the first half of the next game.
Okay, George. Well, we appreciate you being here. You certainly have your right to your perspective. There it is. George.
I'm just playing devil's advocate, man.
George is playing devil's advocate. You do that well some of the time. I'm not going to give you a gold star for this time, though.
If you don't want to get hurt, don't run down the tunnel in the middle of the other team after you beat them by 35, yelling at them. You know, don't do that.
Yelled at anyone.
Somebody might snap, you know.
All right, George.
Love you guys.
Being here.
Bye.
Thanks, man. All right, George with a different perspective on that. And once again, Erica, thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Thank you so much for that. Erica, Iowa fan, takes part in our Iowa show here at the Voice of College Football each and every Tuesday at 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central. We'll have a big Iowa show again with Corey Bratta on Tuesday. Erica, thank you so much for being here as well. And Erica chiming in with, part of being a good player in college football is also being a good quality person. Michigan State apparently doesn't value that in their players. I would say, Erica, that what Mel Tucker had to say fell short of addressing the issue. It fell short of fully showing regret, remorse, responsibility, accountability. He said those things. He used responsibility. He used the word accountability. He didn't seem dedicated to it, purposeful in any kind of remorse on behalf of his players. And that's tough to see. We got One Scoop John here. We appreciate John being here. Thank you so much, sir. Good to see you.
Hey, it's good to be here. So yeah, that was a lot. We always love George's take, but in this case, maybe, you know, here's the thing. We talked about this a lot on the After Dark show last night. So definitely, everybody, quick plug, check that out every Sunday night at 10:45 p.m. Eastern, CFB After Dark.
You guys seriously want to get there. Everybody that's listening right now, every Sunday night at 10:45 Eastern time over on the main channel. It's called College Football After Dark, and it's a complete wrap-up of the weekend. And these guys get on there. I don't want to try to name all the names, but they're all the phenomenal people that support me. And, you know, maybe the best portion of all that is that you don't have to hear from me. You get to hear from all of them. And it's a fun time. I sit and listen to it. It's phenomenal. Thanks, John. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So just because we're it's okay to talk about other topics too, right?
Sure. We've gone 75 minutes on this. So
yeah, I'll wrap up on the other thing. Just Devin Gardner said it best this morning. Michigan State had 4 quarters to do what they wanted. They had 4 quarters on the field to impose their will on us. It went the other way, right? That was a missed opportunity from Michigan State. They started hot in the beginning, but then we took over the game by the second quarter, and it was we really wanted to win this game. We had this game marked on the calendar from like the day that we lost last year. I guarantee it. So we have some red zone things to clear up. I think that's an understatement. I'm hoping this isn't all that we have, because it's not going to be enough against Ohio State to run it up the gut 60 times in the red zone. It's just not going to be enough. You know, the metrics look to me. I watched your video on the comparison between Michigan and Ohio State, and looking at it through the lens of some of the common opponents. And And listen, you guys have the passing advantage. Ohio State has the passing advantage, for sure, and the yards advantage a little bit. I don't see it being enough to run it up the teeth of the defense against Knowles and what he can do with the 4-2-5. I'm hoping we have a little bit more in the playbook.
Had we made that same comparison, and we certainly could go back in the records and look at last year going into the game, it would have been interesting because I'm thinking Michigan still would have had a rushing advantage. Now, we saw it play out in the game, what the true rushing advantage was once we saw, flesh and blood on the field. But statistically, Travion Henderson had a remarkable year. I don't think there was one statistically going into the game. It was probably pretty dead even. Obviously, Michigan was a little more limited passing the ball. I think in reality, they were a lot more limited last year than they are this year. We just haven't seen them cut loose. And obviously, Ohio State was prolific throwing the ball. So we would have seen that huge difference there last year going into the game. This year, we're seeing Michigan's dominance in those metrics, rushing the football. The number that I can't get a hold on are the turnovers and the turnover margin, because there's a randomness about that you can't expect that, okay, well, turned over Iowa 6 times, Penn State 4 times, and the other game, I think nothing for Ohio State, but that advantage of +8 versus -1.
It's ridiculous.
Sometimes that is the way two teams play, and it could be 3-1 Ohio State. If these numbers hold, we could see Michigan turn it over 2-0 or 3-1 in favor of Ohio State, or that could be a random figure that actually works in Michigan's favor in regards to them being able to match Ohio State against these three opponents despite turning it over or failing to. I think it's more failing to get turnovers by their defense.
There's been quite a few almosts, and I know almost doesn't cut it on the metric sheet, but I could see in the next few games we're playing teams like Rutgers, we're playing teams like I'm pretty sure Nebraska. There were a few almost that I think against a team like Rutgers would have been one. So I'm curious to see what happens the next two games. I'll be going in person to the Illinois game, so I'm excited to watch it on the field live, and we'll see how that goes. The other thing I wanted to mention, I just wanted to give a shout out to Tide Guy. I don't know if he's here, but Tide Guy accurately predicted that Brian Harsin was going to be fired today. So if you go back to the College Football After Dark show, Tide Guy said he's gone. He didn't mention today, but he said he's gone, and then literally the news came out a couple of hours ago, right? We all kind of saw this coming, I feel like, at some point this year, unless things had turned around big. Lane Kiffin is my top choice. Just initial thought of who might be replacing Brian Harsin. My other suggestion was Gus, and everybody shot that down. Like, no, it's not gonna be Malzahn. There's too much bad blood, and I get that. But Lane Kiffin, I feel like that's every SEC team's one of their first calls when something like this happens.
Yeah, so unfortunately for me, I reflect on all the videos I've posted about Brian Harsin through the last year and a half. I've posted all sorts of videos, all sorts of analysis on Hot Seat, and he's number 1, he's number 2, he's number whatever. And then all of a sudden I'm tied up this afternoon, and then I had lined up this and all. I'm tied up from here to midnight, and then I see Brian Harsin got fired. I'm like, because I'd typically be going live with the Brian Harsin firing. But yes, did not surprise anyone. And Tide Guy, he called the day. So Tide Guy, great job.
Absolutely. And this is why everybody needs to watch After Dark and also join the Patreon. It's $5, folks. And we are building every single day. It seems like more people are coming onto the Patreon and joining the community. So we're getting busier chats. We're getting busier, parties and hangouts when we do the hangouts almost every night. For $5, like I don't know what else you could get for $5 at the level of the Patreon. I really don't.
I appreciate that. We're dropping the link in the chat right now. We just added somebody about an hour ago.
Woo!
On Patreon as well. So it's our Voice of College Football community on Patreon. And, I could go through the long list of benefits there, but the one that John's pointing to first and foremost is the one, and that's the community that's built there on Patreon. It's phenomenal. So please join us there. Go to Patreon, search Mark Rogers TV, and sign up right there.
Absolutely. That's it for me, Mark.
Thank you, John. Always appreciated. It's good to see
Likewise.
you. Good to hear from you always. Thanks, John.
Bye.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone who's participating here at the Voice of College Football. And again, the deal on Patreon is we set that up a few years ago with a number of intents in mind, a number of purposes, but what it's turned into is so beyond what I anticipated, because I thought, wow, I produce all this content. I'm going to have to produce more content, exclusive content, so forth. Not that that's not available, but first and foremost, it's about what John was talking about. It's about the community that we are building at the Voice of College Football. These guys talk college football and do exclusive live streams behind the curtain all the time, 24/7, 365. So again, you see the link there posted on the screen. I've left it in the chat. Go to Patreon, patreon.com, search Mark Rogers TV, sign up there. Mr. Michael Hoag's on the line. Michael, how you doing today?
Good, Mark. I hope everything's all right with you and your family, sir. Hope it wasn't nothing serious.
It was not necessarily anything serious, no. Yeah, maybe I'll tell the story at some point, but just a few things popped up today, and then there were some other scheduled medical appointments that I had to deal with my mom, so we were tied up all day and couldn't address some of the college football today. But I appreciate your concern, sir.
Gotta always take care of mom. Hey, one thing I was going to ask you, because I was going to ask you about this with Brian Harsin. Do you think Matt Rule might be one of the top two candidates, or does everybody think it's going to be Lane Kiffin?
My thoughts on Lane Kiffin and the Auburn job is I have always, since I've been a college football fan, considered the Auburn job to be well above the Ole Miss job, considerably, decidedly above the Ole Miss job. Now, I don't know. I don't know if it is. I don't know if it's a better job.
Mm-hmm. True. And one thing I'm going to say about the Michigan situation and stuff like that is, I know you've seen games. You haven't been there in person in Ross State, but they got 2 exits and stuff like that for each team and stuff like that. But they usually hold one of the teams back until the one that goes through. But if Purdue who's building a new tunnel for the team to come through next year, could Michigan do the same thing?
Build a new
so
tunnel.
This won't happen again.
Yeah. Well, Purdue's
So
actually renovating the stadium, correct?
Yeah. And then where the Bain and the student section is right now, that's where the Purdue is going to be coming out next year instead of in the south end zone like they used to.
Yeah, I would first review the process of leaving the field and see if we can just separate players. And again, I tend to lean on what a lot of people bring up about they've been playing football there since 1927.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying stuff like that. But then you wonder if people could be if they did that, they could complain because they're going to be displaced and stuff like that. But hey, I mean, yeah, it wasn't bad. But what are you going to do if something 10 times worse, like Saturday night, happens and a player gets killed? Then what's going to happen? God forbid that ever happens.
Well, of course, God forbid that should happen, but we see fights in the stands. Does that mean that we should not allow opposing teams' fans to sit next to each other?
No, but you could always have knuckleheads and idiots, though, Mark.
Exactly. You're always going to have knuckleheads and idiots. Therefore, we see more fights in the stands than we do between the players. Therefore, would we, and it would be much easier to do to say, we're only selling this section to the opposing team's fans, and then then we're going to put up a wall around them so they can't interact with the rest of the fans at the stadium. Do we do that? No. We expect
No,
people to act
because
civil.
yeah, and it's also fun to talk with other teams' fans too, and create friendships and camaraderies and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But the one thing I'm gonna ask you is because someone said this is second. What happened with Penn State and Michigan? At
What
the end of the game,
happened?
they said
I
there was
didn't
another
really look
incident.
into that. I didn't really look into that. I know that I asked our Michigan guy, Justin Rowe, about it, and he explained it, and I wouldn't be able to recant that at this time. But I know that the Penn State players were accused of throwing peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So maybe that caused for more laundry detergent to be thrown into the wash. But besides that, I don't know that that hurt anyone.
First of all, why would you ruin a perfectly good sandwich? Second thing, I seen there was a couple of Michigan State. I don't know if it was University of Michigan Police or if it was Michigan State Patrol or not. But I remember something happening several years ago with Purdue and stuff like that. I mean, it got quiet pretty quick to where there was like 2 or 3 police officers there, and then something happened. Next thing you know, within like maybe 30 seconds, there was like 45 to 50 police officers there and stuff like that. Could he have tried to do something like say, hey, I need some help in here. We got a serious situation or something?
Yes.
Or was it like a spur of the moment that he might not have had a chance to do that?
I would think that he's trained. I would think that he had been trained to do something. And if not, then shame on the state police for not training him.
Or whatever department was. But like I
Again,
said to everybody else,
I separate being put in that position on the street somewhere. If you see some kind of melee where you see 20 huge dudes fighting, throwing each other down, whatever, and you're a police officer, you're still to uphold the law and do something about it. But I understand the reservation. And I understand it's not fun. I understand it's not it's easy for me to say, but again, I didn't take the job to be a state policeman and stand in that tunnel. Then what good are you? What are you doing there? I don't know what else. I don't know what else his responsibilities are, but you make a great point. Even if he's not going to yell and scream at his loudest to say break it up, he could have at least done that and gotten on a radio. I didn't, that video doesn't go on for 10 minutes, but still it's on long enough that you would think at some point, he's got a radio, I would think, on his belt, holds that up to his ear. We got a situation here and need somebody down here at the tunnel.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not jumping to conclusion and let the investigation run its course, but still, got to be accountability. You got to have accountability.
Yes. Yes, we do.
All right, I am going to get some dinner, watch a couple shows, and I will be back on in a couple hours, sir.
Nice, Michael. You have yourself a good night.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for calling, sir.
See you later.
Our guy, Michael, big Purdue fan. Big games left for the Boilers, of course, in the Western Division of the Big Ten. All right, we'll be back on Wednesday at 5 Eastern. That's 5 p.m. Eastern time for Michigan Wolverines Live. Right here at the Voice of College Football. We're here every Wednesday at 5 Eastern with Dre and with Dez, breaking down the Wolverines. And they are here after every Michigan game, including the Michigan State game. And now Michigan takes on Rutgers this week. I took in the news conference from one Greg Schiano, whose offense was able to mount a big goose egg against Minnesota. So who knows what the score is going to be in Piscataway this weekend against the mighty Wolverines. That could get ugly. We all remember 78-0, although Rutgers has a respectable defense. So it may more be somewhere in the range of 49-0 against Rutgers. But Rutgers has no offense. Their offense sucks. At least they took some action, though. And Erica, if you're still watching, at least the Rutgers offense took some action in firing their offensive coordinator and trying to get better. But again, we've got a huge night here at the Voice of College Football coming up at 6 Eastern, yes, 5 Central. We've got Nebraska Live over on the Nebraska channel. Then at 7 Eastern, I'm taking your calls on the top 25 that actually make sense. And then at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, USC Live over on the USC channel. We got a big watch party coming up. Everybody join us for the watch party for the college football playoff reveal. We're going to post that on we're going to live stream on all the channels that have teams that are in the running for a national championship, that are prominent in the college football playoff rankings. That would mean Ohio State, Michigan. That would mean USC, Clemson, LSU, Bama, Georgia. We're going to simulcast on all those. Watch party, college football playoff rankings reveal here at the Voice of College Football, Tuesday at 7 Eastern. And we will see you in about 20 minutes on the Nebraska channel. Thanks for being here.